I come back and laugh at this video often. Every take except for Nashville is a fun city and about 60,000 fans in their first game. Top 5 MLS average attendance. Coming back to this video with the power of hindsight, total highest average attendance. They did great behind literally the model for launching a successful regularly 20,000 fans in Nissan Stadium, even for a midweek game. Oh, also, Nashville is 4th in the table. The deal with Nashville is they're a good team with a good fan base. Bruh, this was like the worst take by this dude ever. Yeah, different room for this one. I didn't want to stand up with the laptop the whole time. I wanted to get myself comfortable, so we're in the baby room. If you couldn't tell, here's the crib. So I think it's safe to say, out of all the videos that I've made, What's the Deal with Nashville SC has aged the worst. Well, second worst, actually. I mean, there was that video when I talked about how Sacramento was finally getting an MLS team, and yeah. I don't really have to explain that one, do I? Still, to this day, I'm getting comments on What's the Deal with Nashville SC about how wrong I was. And I get it, because I completely bungled that one. So, I decided it's time to revisit that video. Because, you know, it wasn't all trash. I need to defend myself when it's time to defend myself, and I need to explain myself when it's time to explain myself, and I need to hang my head in shame when I completely missed the mark, which happened more than once. Before we begin, remember, if you're an MLS fan or just curious to find out more about the league, please subscribe for more MLS content. And also let me know what you want to see a video on in the future. Okay, let's do it. Okay, well, first of all, that logo was just a Bitmoji from Snapchat. This is back when I had no idea how to design anything, and back in the day, I thought it was good. I thought no one would notice. It's pretty cringy. I'm glad I updated when I did. Nashville is the one with the least amount of hype surrounding it. Like, seriously, does anyone know what's going on with Nashville? Does everyone realize that they start playing MLS next season? Okay, now that part is absolutely true. Okay, Nashville was announced, and then they revealed their badge, and then nothing. Like, they were never featured on the MLSsoccer.com website. It was always Inter Miami. Now, I think where I could have been more diligent is looking at the Nashville market itself. Like, I focused at MLS as a whole at how they covered Nashville SC, but I didn't look at how the local guys covered Nashville, which, from what I understand, they actually do a pretty good job. Minus a few guys that only talk about the Tennessee Titans. But I've worked in sports radio, and you'll get that. You'll get some people that only care about the NFL and NBA. It looks like they're still gonna sign David Silva, so yeah. Nope, that didn't happen. Inter Miami is going big. They remind me a lot of LAFC when they were getting started, which, based off how this season is going, nope. That definitely didn't happen. Well, looking back on this video, I think I spent way too much time talking about Inter Miami. Like, yeah, they were the expansion brothers to Nashville SC, and I think a comparison here and there could have been warranted, but like, just rewatching this, I'm mad at myself because I spent way too much time on a team from a completely different state when the main focus should have been Nashville SC. That's not to say that Nashville is doing nothing. I mean, they've got a head coach already in Gary Smith who's okay. I mean, he won an MLS Cup in 2010 with it. Yeah. I say meh across the bottom, but then give no context to it. Like, what I was trying to get at is that Gary Smith coached teams, at least in MLS, have always finished middle of the pack. I mean, you can look at his time in the Colorado Rapids. He never finished higher than 4th place in the conference. And whether fairly or unfairly, Gary Smith coached teams have a reputation for playing a little boring, for not scoring a whole ton of goals. But by me saying that, like that completely discredits his MLS Cup win. I mean, the reality is that Nashville SC is getting an MLS coach, and MLS is getting a coach with not only MLS experience, but also experience winning an MLS Cup. Like, that should have been a way bigger deal than me just saying like, well, he had a couple okay seasons at Colorado. They've got Randall Leal. Leal, okay? God, I really butchered that pronunciation. It's Randall Leal, not Randall Leal. There were 4 cities vying for 2 expansion slots: Cincinnati, Sacramento, Detroit, and Nashville. Everyone kind of expected Cincy and Sacramento, and in fact, Nashville was kind of seen as an afterthought. Yeah, again, that's completely accurate. I mean, I'm right about that. Most people were penciling in Cincinnati and Sacramento, and when Nashville was announced, there was surprise. There was even a little bit of anger because a lot of people didn't just believe that Cincinnati and Sacramento were gonna get it. A lot of people believed they deserved it. So Nashville kind of comes out of left field for some of these people. You would think MLS would want to pump them up as much as possible, if nothing else than to just convince fans who thought that expansion spot should have gone to Sacramento. Okay, this is something that I thought was a really good point when I was first making this video, but now, you know, a little while later, rewatching this, I realize it's kind of a trash point, because it's like, who was talking about Minnesota before Minnesota United arrived into MLS? I mean, who's really talking about Charlotte FC right now? I mean, the only thing people are really talking about Charlotte FC is how expensive their season tickets are right now. But like, no one's really talking about them. You don't see stories about them on the MLSsoccer.com website. So am I gonna make a whole separate video about that? It's like, why do I only focus on Nashville and bully them on this subject? It's like, that part is just kind of a moot point. I wish I would have omitted it from the final script. Okay, 5 minutes in, this is where the video really starts to go off the rails. Perhaps I'd have more enthusiasm about this if Nashville SC didn't currently have an average attendance of just over 7,000. Hey, what was Orlando City's USL attendance before they entered into MLS? How about Seattle? Or Portland? Or Vancouver? Or how about Austin's USL attendance with the Bold, and before that, Austin Aztecs? I used to compare USL attendances to MLS attendances, but now I make a point not to do that anymore because it's irrelevant. They're 2 completely different leagues with 2 completely different exposures, and every single market from USL is going to get a bump once they go into MLS. It's, you know, unless you have a team that's averaging tens of thousands in USL, it's really pretty impossible to predict how much of a bump you'll get from USL to MLS. Like, why did I think that bump would somehow magically be smaller for Nashville SC? I mean, there's no logic applied to that equation. Maybe I could have made a more educated guess if I just would have waited until after the first game. You know, the one where they got over 59,000 fans. And now, in this COVID crazy world, Nashville SC is averaging over 20,000 people at Nissan Stadium. And I know Tennessee's a little bit more relaxed on the COVID restrictions, but even still, over 20,000 fans in a COVID year. You look at everyone else's attendances, they're all down. So it's safe to assume that Nashville SC's attendance would be even higher if it was a normal year. 30,000 seat stadium, it sounded like a lot back then. Honestly, now for Nashville SC, I could say, yeah, I'm all for it. They're doing a good job filling up Nissan Stadium. I think they'll do a good job filling up this new stadium. Wilf tried to get Minnesota an expansion team. Now, it didn't work out, but at least I got that one right. I do like the owners of Nashville SC. Honestly, I would say Nashville will probably struggle more than the other MLS expansion teams. I see Miami just being like immediately successful, both on and off the field. I really see a lot of similarities with them and LAFC.
Oh.
I made that prediction with Inter Miami when they had 3 players signed. 3 players signed, and I predicted that Miami would be LAFC. Like, oh God, what am I doing? Obviously entirely too early to make that kind of claim. I mean, it was just purely speculation. And not that speculating is bad, but when it's not backed up by any facts or logic, it's just lazy. There was no deductive reasoning behind those predictions. I was basically saying like, well, you know, Miami, yeah, it's Miami, and they got David Beckham, so yeah, they're gonna be the next big thing in MLS. And Nashville is gonna be like FC Cincinnati without the fans. Again, with no evidence to back up that claim. I was just basically guessing something out of thin air. That's like me saying like, yeah, you know what? I think St. Louis City is gonna have a better season than Charlotte FC in 2029. It just feels that way. Like, where am I getting that from? Okay, can I be done yet? I would say that What's the Deal with Nashville SC is definitely probably my worst video I ever made. And it's not even because the predictions were wrong. I mean, I've gotten a lot of predictions wrong on this channel, but it's how I got them wrong. Obviously, hindsight is 20/20, but like just looking back on this video and rewatching it, I mean, my whole central point of, oh, Nashville might be bad because MLS isn't talking about them. Like that doesn't even make sense. There's like zero correlation with that. Nashville SC has done a fantastic job. And, you know, the organization, the fans, everyone over there deserves a lot of credit because, you know, I'm not the only one that doubted Nashville. I was just the only one stupid enough to make my own video on it. Nashville SC fans, I screwed this one up. My bad. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.